Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm from India, so I mean, since the event is happening in the morning, here it's evening. So I'm Dr. Kejal, and today I'm here to present my study on adolescent diet and physical activity in the context of economic, social, and nutrition transition in rural Maharashtra, which is a western part of India, and this was a qualitative study. So this study was a part of a consortium or a collaboration, I would say, of a talent project, which was a transition in adolescent lives through nutrition. And we had collaborators from India and sub-Saharan countries. This is an overview of my presentation. So, talking about adolescence, it is defined as those who are aged between 10 to 19 years, where early part is 10 to 15 and rest is late adolescence. In India and globally, adolescents do suffer public health issues like micronutrient deficiencies, stunting, underweight, and overweight. And looking at the population of adolescents globally, it was 1.2 billion in 2018, and India is a hub of 243 million adolescents, and 22.5 million are contributed from Maharashtra. So why we want to focus on adolescent diet and physical activity? Early in 1999, from our unit only, Dr. C.S. Yajnik had established a cohort which is PMNS. I'll be talking about it a little later. So he found that calorie and nutrient deficient environment at the time of birth or in mother's womb, and later exposure to high calorie environment due to socio-economic and nutrition transition will increase the risk of NCDs in early or late adulthood. So on the basis of that, we planned this study in a collaboration with other countries. So in low middle income countries, nutrition transition and change in physical activity is rampant these days. And you all know that during a pandemic, COVID had affected physical activity very badly. I mean, the level had gone down more than what we had studied in 2020 when the study was conducted. Adolescent being a multifaceted transition phase and a critical period for future health development, and thus investing in them now is essential for current and future generation. The Government of India has initiated schemes and programs to address the nutritional health needs of adolescents, but still they are proved to be largely neglected population. So, purpose of the study, it is important to understand food and physical activity related attitudes and behavior at this stage of life, since habits developed during childhood and adolescence are likely to track into adulthood. Factors related to factors influencing adolescents' food choices majorly have been studied in high income countries, which include age, gender, autonomy, taste, food security, family influences, parental control, peer influence, institutional influence. And majorly, these studies, or that there is a dearth of data in lower middle income countries, and that's how it set a base for our study. So the objective was to explore the drivers of adolescent food choices and physical activity pattern in rural India, where the area or the villages are undergoing economic and social transition. Coming to the methodology, as I mentioned about talent, the study site was rural villages which are located 40 to 60 kilometers away from Pune city, and the villages included were Babal, Dhamari, and Kendur. The population was adolescent, as I mentioned, and their caregivers for FGDs. The sampling was purposive because, as I mentioned about the PMNS, we already have a set of social workers and ANMs who are the localites of those villages, and they helped us in reaching out to these adolescents at one go. And ethical statement, it was approved by the ethics committee of KEM Hospital Research Center. We had also collected consent and assent from the parents and adolescents respectively. The duration was 1 year for data collection, which was from January to December 2018, and total of 8 FGDs were conducted for the adolescents and their caregivers. This is the study flow where you can see that we had distributed them into early and late adolescents, and each group had equal number of subjects just to avoid any bias. So, suitability of the setting: 25 years ago, the Pune maternal nutrition study was established in these villages to examine association between diet during pregnancy and offspring outcomes. At this time, families were mostly occupied in subsistence farming with little access to food markets. The majority of the women were married and they began childbearing by the age of 18. So, underweight and stunting was very much prevalent, and 31% of the women were severely and chronically energy deficient with a BMI less than 17 kg per meter square. So, also the infrastructure and transport facilities were poor, and the population was largely dependent on agriculture, which was rain fed. So within a span of 20 years, dam system and thus increased cash crops. So the economical status has started improving, increased income and more purchase power, permanent dwellings and other social economic status indicators had also improved. Varied employment opportunities generated due to small industries and improved road connectivity. And most villagers now receive electricity and improved literacy rate. So these are the factors why we chose this location or the site for our study. So overview of the FGDs. The FGD guide was developed, tested and piloted with a group of adolescents and their mothers before the study began. So this pilot was run in the areas which were near to the villages, but not exactly the same villages. uh, FGDs were audio recorded, and after receiving audio recorded after receiving the consent and assent, and all FGDs with adolescents had started with an ice-breaking session because it was very important for the adolescent to sit throughout the session, and that's how to develop interest and to just click on their curiosity. We had started with some activities which were ice breaking and were very much helpful for us in conducting the session without any breaks, or they were flawless. There wasn't any break, or adolescent did not lose any interest while giving responses. um, FGDs for adolescents and mothers were conducted following the protocol, maintaining confidentiality and providing complete comfort to the participants. And this was a team which had, been there for all the FGDs that were conducted. So we came across, we developed certain themes, I would say, where we wanted to study that. What may happen or what are the factors which may influence food choices. So in FGD guide, we had various sections, subsections, which included adolescents' current dietary habits and their food preferences, physical activity patterns of the adolescent, opportunities and challenges of having a healthy diet and being physically active, parental involvement in the diet of the adolescents, and participants' idea about future interventions. So this is the part of data treatment and analysis, where after the data was collected, the transcription and translation was carried out. Most of the FGDs were conducted in Marathi and Hindi, depending upon the comfort of the respondents, and then they were translated into English. Then they were back translated to local language just to understand that we are not missing out on any of the important responses, or the meaning is not changing. And then we made decisions on emerging themes. Then we developed coding framework, then code book revision and developing thematic map that we had. Then data coding in NVO 12 was done, and thematic analysis using Brown and Clark's step-by-step guide. And data was reported using correct, which is a consolidated criteria for reporting qualitative research. This is the thematic map which we had come up with, depending upon the individual and environmental factors which were affecting diet and physical activity. So for individual factors, it was more
Uh,
about
Dr. K
autonomy.
Dr. Kejal, sorry for the interruption. So you're we are able to see the only the beginning starting slide. If you're explaining in a different slide, I just want to let you know.
Oh, oh, no, I'm moving all the slides. Okay, you are still on the title slide.
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
exactly.
I'll
So
do it once again then. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
that's completely all right. Yeah.
Can you see the slide number 9?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That would be great if you just turn on the presentation view so that.
Yes, sure. Is it visible now?
Uh, uh, we are not able to see the presentation view. We are still at uh, the PowerPoint normal slide view.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's raining heavily here, so maybe there is some
Yeah,
connection.
I can do one thing. I think I have your
Yeah, I
present.
had shared it with Selena. If you just
Yeah,
could share,
yes,
I
I
can.
had the presentation. So, do you want me to share on your behalf?
Yes, sure.
Yeah,
I'll
let
stop
me.
sharing.
Yeah, sure. Just give me a couple of seconds.
Sure. I'm sorry, everyone.
So which the number of slide you want me to display? 9.
9. Yes.
Okay, that's great. Second. Please let me know if you're able to see my screen.
I'm not able to see your screen.
Yeah. Uh, Now,
No.
no. Um, can anyone else can confirm whether?
Okay, you all can see the slide.
I can see the screen.
Okay, so there's something wrong with my network. Not an issue. What I'll do is I'll just continue with my slides and then you can just keep moving the slides.
Exactly. Yeah, that
Is it
will.
okay?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
will work.
Okay, so coming to slide 9, it was a thematic map which we had come up with, which was depicting individual and environmental factors. And individual factors were majorly related to autonomy and independence, which are growing with the age. So in adolescents, we had understood that there is an autonomy in opportunities and challenges to healthy eating and physical activity. There is also an autonomy which is related to influences on food choices. Coming to environmental factors, we had taken affordability and availability into consideration as one of the major and emerging themes. Then, local infrastructure in relation to physical activity and sources of knowledge of healthy eating were majorly included as environmental factors. Next slide, please. So, coming to quantitative results, which were also a part of the study, we understood that Z score for height was slightly lower than normal in both the groups, which is 10 to 12 and 15 to 17 years, irrespective of their gender. And also, BMI for age was slightly lower. Coming to socio-demographic profile, most of the families were or the parents were self-employed. Majority of them were indulged into some small business or agriculture, which is a major source of income, and rest were paid employed, where majority where the parents were working with certain industries which were very close to the villages. So that was the maximum coverage of employment part. uh, uh, Average education years were 7 to 10 years, that is first to 10th standard, which is a compulsory or I would say essential education for the villagers nowadays. Next slide. Based on the emerging themes, we had divided our results into three sections. First was the influence of growing autonomy and independence, where sub-theme was autonomy and its influence on food choices, where we have various quotes where adolescents responded that we choose food with a good healthy looks and attractive. There are TV advertisements which do influence our food choices. If there is some offer with the food, like if there is something free with it, then we buy it. Or if the packaging is simple, then we don't buy that particular food. So here they have a power to make a decision on buying food. Earlier, that was not the scenario. Earlier, it was only about the money. Either they are getting something for free, or it is like, which they can buy for 1 or 2 rupees. But now they do have an income where they do get pocket money from their parents, and that's how they get to decide. They do have an autonomy due to age, and they also get to decide whether they want to buy that particular food or not. So that was a part. From parents side, it is always a difference. We throughout the study, we observe that mothers who are responding, they would always mention that yes, boys can do this but girls don't do, or girls are shy, they won't eat outside. But that was not the exact scenario when we interacted with adolescents during their FGDs. All the adolescents, all the participants of different age group and gender, they do participated actively, and the majority of them responded that they get to eat outside food. They share it with their friends. If their friend is buying one thing, they will buy another thing, and this is how they share and eat. So that was the difference in the mentality, I would say, and growing decision making power for the adolescent. Then next slide, please. Coming to second sub theme, which is autonomy, opportunities for and challenges to physical activity, where adolescents do want to spend most of the time on playing other than studies. So they responded that parents do not allow to go for playing if there is work or exam. Otherwise, they do not stop us for playing. We do not like to do anything extra like this. I mean, the parents do ask for some help in household chores, or if any messages to be given to the neighbors or something, or if they want them to go and get some groceries or vegetables. So they don't want to do that, they just want to play. uh, we like dancing. This was a response from a girl. We like dancing, but no one teaches it. Before they used to do it, but now they have stopped. So she's talking about her teachers. In school, they did have dancing class. I mean, that was for recreation. So dancing was one of the activities, but now that has been shift to most of the sport activities. If I'm dancing in the evening, then mother tells me that you do this step. She also sometimes dances with me. I do get support. So here she is praising her mother, where parents have also started supporting adolescent in doing recreation activities. For girls, most of the time it is dancing and doing some other activities like doing thread work or something like that. So the parents do help. And I tell my father that I want to eat the particular food. Sorry, this shouldn't be here. Uh, then coming to the mothers or the caregivers, mothers do have complained that their children are not listening to them now since they are growing. So they will not do any help in household chores. And she says that he doesn't do any work. He complains that I ask only him to do the work, and he doesn't listen even after telling. Other parents also have complaints where they feel that children are on WhatsApp and mobile all the time, and that's how they neglect. whatever request parents are making for doing any physical activity or any household chores. uh, Children are mostly on the phone nowadays. There is always somebody on the call. He takes games and keeps on playing. I think the old phones were better, giving him small jobs like giving some messages to someone, bringing something from the shop, then it makes him walk. So parents do try to make their children walk and do physical activity, and adolescents are neglecting that. So that's also part of their autonomical behavior. Next slide, please. Second theme was affordability, availability, and effects of the local infrastructure, where first sub theme was affordability and availability. We talked about, having how much quantity of the food do they eat, or is there anything where they have to restrict on their portion or something. So they mentioned that we eat till we feel full, we get more food. I have a younger brother and sister at home, so when something is brought into the house, then it is divided. So there are certain foods like fruits and sweets, they mentioned, which is still like it is not available ad libitum. It is only whenever it is available in the market or brought from the market, they get to eat, and it is divided among all the siblings equally. Sometimes the portions change when everyone is very hungry. So even for the tiffins and food which is provided from the school, in the school under midday meal program, so it so happens that if they have brought food from home and there is something special like pav bhaji or parathas, it gets easily finished by all the friends because they just want to take a bite. So there the portion changes, he gets to eat less, but that is supported or that is replaced by the midday meal which is also provided from the school. So this is what the adolescent mentioned. So overall, it reflects that the affordability and availability of food has increased as compared to earlier years. Coming to their caregivers, mothers have become a little bit aware, since now they can afford buying particular foods which are little bit costlier than the local foods, but still they want to give it to their child. So a mother mentioned that we give priority to nutrition. We pay and get nutritious food. I buy the food from which we get vitamins, even if it is expensive. Another response from another mother, she said that farmers do not get fruits because of poverty. So we eat what we grow in our fields, green leafy vegetables, etc. So there was still a diversity where certain were at a level, majority of them were the workers of any industry where they had fixed income, whereas farmers, they do get to eat a lot of fruits when there is a season of that particular, I mean seasonal fruits, and those who have kitchen gardens. So there was still a diversity in terms of affordability and availability from the caregiver side. Then local, second sub theme is local infrastructure in relation to physical activity, where elder adolescents have started going to the gym. There are gyms which are available in the villages, and they are still able to pay the fees for their membership, and they are doing exercises. Also there is a lot of improvement in terms of school playground, where they have a lot of recreation instruments installed in those playgrounds. So that's how there is a the adolescents mentioned that there is a yoga session on every Saturday at school. Teachers give training every day and also gives time to play. Coming to the caregivers, because school is far away, my daughter doesn't participate in any sports activity because it is always after school hours that they have to participate. Due to time constraint, no physical activity can be done, and we have to go to the field. So from the caregiver side, there is a gender bias, I would say. And secondly, those who are working as laborers in field, They do believe that their adolescents should be helping them in earning a bit of money rather than spending their time on their playing or physical activity. So that's a difference. So I would say that availability of local infrastructure is there, which can help in improving physical activity, but still there are requirements where the mindsets have to be changed, or they have to be made aware. Next slide, please. Third sub-theme for affordability is knowledge of healthy eating, where most of the adolescents do have smartphones and they do watch videos, where one of them said that it was shown in a WhatsApp video that Kurkure has plastic in it. Kurkure is one of the brands of corn puffs, so it was burnt and it was shown that it has plastic. Since it has plastic, it is burning like this. Then certain believe that ice cola has color in which may increase your anxiety or also may cause early puberty. Then vada pav contaminated with the vector from the feet of flies can go inside my stomach when we eat that vada pav and spread diseases. My parents say that I should not eat street food items. I should eat homemade foods and cereal pulses only. And some said that homemade food is fresh, homemade food is tasty. So there is a mixed response in terms of knowledge, where sometimes the knowledge is correct based on scientific findings, whereas sometimes it is just circulated videos and viral videos and there isn't any scientific base behind it. But yes, adolescents have started noticing that what they are eating and what can happen if that is the practice goes wrong. So that is something which is really impressive in terms of knowledge enhancement. Please go to the next slide. Third and last theme was preferences for intervention. This we kept as an open-ended section where whatever interventions they would like to suggest or they feel are necessary for the adolescent to improve on their food choices or physical activity. So we asked adolescent that what do you feel can be done through government or through society or through your village panchayat office or even your parents, what should they do to improve on these aspects? So adolescents responded that the distribution of biscuits at school must be stopped and almonds should be given instead. Dry fruits should be given. So as I mentioned about midday meal, they do have a particular day in a week where either they get fortified biscuits or fruits. So they do not want that, and they feel that government should started distributing dry fruits instead of these biscuits. Then vendors and food stalls serving unhealthy food should be removed from the school premises. So this was a very good suggestion, where recently there was a campaign which was driven by government of India, where they had mentioned about the HFSS foods and how they can be avoided, where within the premises of school or within the periphery of almost 2 kilometers there shouldn't be any shop which is selling junk foods or packaged foods. So that was a drive which was initiated, and probably they must have heard of it, or if they have thought from their mind itself, it's a very good sign that they are becoming aware. Then make a swimming tank in school. The number of yoga sessions should be increased, and the village should have karate class, because if it is nearby, then parents would also agree to send us since the school is too far. So this was the adolescents' response, where they want to participate in various activities as well. Coming to mothers or caregivers, bathroom facilities in school and water facilities should be there. So their major focus was on hygiene and safety of their children. Where still there are certain government schools in rural villages where bathroom facility is not sufficient, and that's why specifically the adolescent girls, they prefer to go home during their lunch break for using the washrooms, and they avoid using it in the school. So that might cause UTI in future. So considering that, probably the mothers have mentioned that. Then villages are ignored by the government. A garden should be made here, swing, slide, a small swimming tank is required. Bus facilities should be provided as it gets late while going and returning to and from school, and they should provide cycles for girls. So majority of the respondents who showed a concern or required intervention were the parents of the girl participants. So next slide, please. So summing up, our study was conducted in a setting that is undergoing rural to urban transition. While that was not directly described by the participants, we had observed it. Dietary behavior and physical activity of adolescents were perceived to be influenced by individual and interpersonal factors. The home food environment, street food availability, household food security, and exposure to television and digital media were described as influencing factors or behavior. They were described as factors which were influencing the behavior. Lack of facility and infrastructure were described as barriers to physical activity, and adolescents suggested that school take a lead role in providing healthy foods and that government invest in facilities for physical activity. Next slide, please. So the reflection of the outcome is that in this transitioning environment that is representative of many parts of rural India and other LMICs, people perceive a need for intervention to improve adolescent diet and physical activity, and caregivers clearly felt that they had a stake in adolescent health. And so we would recommend that interventions involve both adolescents and caregiver needs to be designed and uh, should be made as a large scale studies. The public health implication that we feel is the longer term aim of the talent consortium is to develop and test context specific intervention to improve adolescent health in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Next, please. Strength of the study, I will just sum up, is that it's a novel feature of the study is that we spoke to both adolescent and parents at one go. It was not only one-sided response, but it was from the both perspective that we tried to understand, and this is how we are planning to develop our large-scale study. And limitation, I would say that fathers did not participate in FGDs. Most of the time, it was either mother or the grandmother or aunt who were present. Most of the time, it was mothers, and the majority of the data coding was completed by me. So limiting the assessment of intercoder reliability, but it was shared with other centers just to understand that whether there is any bias. So that was cleared by the main team which was operating in Southampton, and it was mentioned that there is no bias which is there in the responses. Last slide, publication. This study has been published in Public Health Nutrition Journal in the year 2020. So you can have a look if you wish to explore more about the study. That's it. That's it from my side.